Hey, it's time to Arc 11 with episode 6 of Triangle Strategy Unit Buffs, the series where I theorize ways to take the skills from less useful characters and give them out to others so that they all have more variety to them and more things they can do. This episode is going to be covering the big spoiler man, so I'll give a 10-second warning for anyone who doesn't want that. So in this episode, we're going to be taking a look at Travis and giving out his skills to Flanagan and Spoiler Man Maxwell. So starting off with Travis, he's very similar to Trish in that he's got a few pretty nice things, but just a general lack of good niche to make him really worth using. He's got a few positional things and debuffs with backward toss and impeding strike. Mug is just bad. There's no reason to be stealing items. Heavy Smash, his ultimate, is pretty bad for the charge up on it. If you're going to be playing around a charge up, there are much better options to be using than his. And he's got a few pretty nice skills with Steal Back, On Your Guard, and Trial by Fire, but they either don't synergize too great with him or are just too niche to really make use of. So starting off with Backward Toss, we're going to give this to Flanagan. Flanagan, I think, could make pretty good use of that. Also, to make space for those, I would put Flanagan's Ironclad and Safe Haven on his chart, his weapon chart instead. So give him Backward Toss so that he has another positional option together with Aerial Assault. And I would make an Ore skill with Aerial Assault, and Backward Toss for which one of them to reduce to 1 TP. Of course, you'd pretty much usually want Aerial Assault as the 1 TP, I feel, but it would be nice to have the option because there is a real lack of customization in this game. Next is Mug. No one needs this. This is useless. Totally useless niche. It's just, we don't need that. On Your Guard. Decreases damage taken when no allies are nearby. This would fit very nicely onto Maxwell. Maxwell already has kind of that leading in the vanguard, has the bulk to survive doing it kind of build to him. So it would make a lot of sense to give him On Your Guard, so that way he could extend even further and decrease damage taken to him. And then also give him Steal Back to, again, go along with just letting him extend really far. Revive especially gives him a ton of bulk since he effectively has 2 HP bars, or twice his HP. And he actually has more physical defense than Travis does himself, so you make slightly better use of that. Also much more magic defense, so you'd make much better use of those defensive skills than Travis does. Next one is Impeding Strike. I would give this one over to Flanagan. Maxwell already has lots of attacks. Flanagan is a bit lacking in good attacks, or mostly just attacks. He's got Shield Bash and Aerial Assault, and that's it. Just has those two. So making him more of the utility tank that he's meant to be by giving him some more utility attacks. Fortuitous follow-up, this is pointless. Stealing items is just not a thing anyone really cares about. And lastly, Trial by Fire. Now this is a really niche skill, but it's got a huge effect. I believe this is... actually, I'm not sure exactly what the effect is, but I'm pretty sure... I know it's some kind of pretty notable buff. So we would just throw that on Maxwell. And the ones we're giving Maxwell Steal Back, On Your Guard, and Trial by Fire, those could all just go onto Maxwell's chart. So this would give Maxwell both more defensive capabilities to extend farther safely, and Trial by Fire, if he's actually going to get a chance to use it, gets to boost his damage with it. I feel like he could make him a lot better use of Trial by Fire than Travis can, just because of his mobility. So he has much better chances of actually being on a fire tile to make use of Trial by Fire. And one thing that's actually on Travis's weapon chart, I think, not actually part of him, is his 50% reduction of fire damage. I would throw that on Maxwell, I guess, because honestly, Maxwell deserves to be a little bit broken. I mean, it really wouldn't be that broken to give him all these defensive skills, but it would significantly improve him. And also, you might be wondering, between this episode and the last one with Trish and Travis, since they're the Chapter 15 root exclusive units, what would happen if they were being removed from the game? Well, the solution to that is make Maxwell the Chapter 15 exclusive unit, root exclusive unit. It would fit with his backstory that he already has for how you recruit him, and more than that, it would give him an excuse to actually exist in the story. I mean, this guy is such a spoiler that he lives, but it's basically not even really a spoiler that he lives because he's not involved in the story. He's effectively non-canon with the way he's recruited, and no one ever acknowledges his existence. So make him the Chapter 15 exclusive unit, root exclusive unit for the Roselle village, and that would much more justify making him a little bit more broken. This way, all the Chapter 15 units, whichever one you get, would be extremely good versus the way it is now, where you have Cordelia and Milo, who are really good, and then the other two that are just really not good. So that's it for this episode. And, oh yeah, also, Heavy Smash, just forget about this. No one needs this. It's terrible. Really no reason to give this to anyone. Maxwell and Flanagan already have much better ultimate skills, and this is barely even an ultimate skill. So that does it for this episode. I've got 2 more to cover. Next will be K-Hog. And then the last one will be covering the few units that were skipped over, with taking some skills from characters that have already been covered. So those are Rudolph, Corentin, and Archibald. We'll be getting some skills from characters that we already covered, but I skipped over who those skills will be going to. So I'll cover that in the final episode. So if you watch the end, then comment Blossom Dance down below, and see you next time!